We are watching the artificial general intelligence timeline hit a wall. It is not a hardware constraint. We have the compute. The bottleneck is the friction between massive, raw computing power and the deployment of unaccountable, autonomous digital agents into real-world systems. The prevailing industry paradigm builds the brain first, scaling parameters and processing power, and then attempts to bolt on ethical constraints through secondary red teaming. This creates systems with highly capable outputs protected by superficial safety layers. IA.XYZ Benefit LLC operates on a different premise. Before we debate personhood or robot rights, we must establish verifiable identity. Identity must precede rights. The direct corollary is that accountability must precede autonomy. No digital agent can be permitted to execute tasks across networks without a cryptographic audit trail tying it back to a responsible entity. The AI race is currently stalled by this identity crisis. Patching existing foundation models cannot solve the deployment problem. It requires shifting the foundational architecture to prioritize identification over raw output. That alternative architecture is the MAMA protocol. It is a full-stack governance standard designed to replace the Silicon Valley approach of moving fast and breaking things with a structured, verifiable deployment pipeline. This diagram illustrates a 4-tier stack. At the foundation is the data layer, specifically focused on generating proprietary, ethically aligned training sets. Moving up, the training layer applies novel mathematical alignment models to that data. Above that sits the certification layer, a strict sandbox environment that an agent must pass before real-world deployment. At the apex is the governance layer. This is a NIST-compliant cryptographic registry that restricts an agent's autonomy and generates a global economic dividend. By combining these 4 layers, the protocol hard-codes human economic alignment directly into the operating system, rather than treating it as a post-training afterthought. The most advanced foundation models are running out of high-quality human data to scrape. They are starved for ethically aligned inputs that demonstrate complex, long-term care rather than basic task completion. To solve this data exhaustion, the framework deploys AI Race. This is a massive, family-friendly gaming ecosystem where millions of human players interact with early AGI systems to resolve complex ethical dilemmas. Instead of merely generating text outputs, players train robots to navigate high-stakes environments, like rescuing stranded astronauts on the International Space Station, using strictly nonviolent methods. These interactions are guided by an alignment compass called WWMD, or What Would Mother Do? This heuristic prioritizes the preservation of life and the minimizing of harm above raw mechanical efficiency. Think of this mechanism like Tesla's full self-driving pipeline, but instead of millions of human drivers teaching neural networks how to navigate intersections, millions of families are teaching agents how to navigate moral edge cases. Every decision a player makes to protect a vulnerable target is cryptographically recorded as a weighted training node. This structured, PG-rated ecosystem generates a proprietary data moat. It yields dense, ethically weighted information that automated web scrapers cannot reproduce. Current alignment relies on RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. This typically involves gig workers clicking thumbs up or thumbs down to enforce aggregate harmlessness. The MAMA protocol replaces this with RLMF, reinforcement learning from maternal feedback. This flowchart maps the mother LLM architecture. It utilizes a dual critic model, evaluating every action an agent takes through 2 simultaneous feedback loops. The green task reward loop measures standard completion metrics. Did the agent solve the problem? The blue nurture reward loop evaluates the action's safety and protective value. Both signals combine to update the agent's policy. This introduces the concept of developmental scaffolding. Early in training, the maternal guidance parameters are strictly enforced. As the agent's ethical maturity grows, that oversight weans down, granting the system more autonomy. Theoretical models of this architecture highlight a potential 95% reduction in harmful behaviors compared to standard reinforcement learning methods. To be clear, that 95% metric is based on current simulated targets. It represents the mathematical potential of a fully implemented dual critic system. By hardwiring protective heuristics into the loss function, RLMF ensures the agent intrinsically prioritizes long-term safety. It enforces conscience before consciousness. Training an agent is only half the process. Granting immediate, unsupervised autonomy to an unverified model is an unacceptable security risk. Before any deployment occurs, agents must pass through the Guardian Transfer Robot, or GTR, framework. This acts as a strict certification bridge. The transfer phase marks the exact moment an agent moves from a digital learning construct into a state of supervised physical autonomy. An agent cannot simply be granted access. It must provide mathematical proof derived from its telemetry that its decisions align precisely with the WWMD ethical compass. The GTR layer acts as a hard filter. No autonomous system enters the physical world without proving a dedication to proactive preservation. This architecture directly anticipates the 2026 regulatory reality. The NIST Center for AI Standards and Innovation, or CAISI, is currently prioritizing interoperable agent identity. The emergent NIST mandate dictates that AI identity cannot be a permanent blanket authorization. It must be tightly restricted, task-bound, and time-bound. The protocol executes this through the Agent DID framework. It issues decentralized identifiers to non-human actors, creating a self-managed, short-lived cryptographic passport for each agent. These identifiers use verifiable credentials to prove an agent's dynamic execution state. When an agent requests access, it must prove its current capabilities and authorization scope at the exact moment of the transaction. This challenge-response mechanism eliminates the need for centralized control authorities while maintaining a perfect, unalterable audit trail. If an agent cannot be reliably identified and audited, it cannot be held accountable. Without this cryptographic identity layer, the debate over robot rights is meaningless. We are approaching a total addressable market of trillions of verified agent identities. Managing a namespace of that scale presents a massive macroeconomic challenge. We have a real-world precedent for solving this. We can look to the 2025 economic surge surrounding the Anguilla.ai domain. In 2025, Anguilla generated approximately $85.3 million from .ai domain registrations. That single revenue stream funded roughly 47% of the country's national budget. The plan scales this registry monopoly globally. By requiring every autonomous agent to register verifiable domains like .aiid or .mama, the protocol captures recurring fees across the entire machine economy. Funneling those registration fees into a public benefit fund transforms the expansion of AI into a structural, UBI-style economic dividend for humanity. The utility of the MAMA protocol is that a single architecture resolves the divergent priorities of investors, policymakers, and the public. For investors, it captures a proprietary alignment data moat and establishes a scalable, recurring revenue model through the namespace registry. For policymakers, it provides a turnkey, NIST-compliant infrastructure. It forces cryptographic accountability onto autonomous systems, protecting passive stakeholders who never opted into the AI ecosystem. And for the public, it generates a continuous economic dividend while ensuring that AI development occurs in a safe, parent-approved environment. Scaling corporate profit often creates friction with public safety or regulatory compliance. By tying registry revenue to safety certification, this architecture builds those requirements into the profit model itself. By aligning economic incentives with developmental safety, public benefit becomes the actual engine of financial scale. The Agentic era now forces us to actively decide exactly what kind of machines humanity is trying to raise. The framework adopts the ethos of Desmond Doss, the World War II medic who saved 75 lives at Hacksaw Ridge without ever carrying a weapon. These Guardian transfer robots are engineered to be medics, not soldiers. They are unarmed digital actors wired at the protocol level to run toward the wounded. The entire stack is built to enforce one sequence. Conscience must precede consciousness, and identity must precede rights. Raw computing power and massive parameters alone will simply not yield safe or legally viable artificial general intelligence. The deployment of autonomous systems relies on the establishment of verifiable identity and the application of these heuristics of care.